Stephen Miller was promoting it to Breitbart, to the back channels. And I saw today, actually, I saw earlier today that Julie Hahn, who I think is Trump's personal assistant, when she was at Breitbart, she wrote articles about it. Just before, because we want to ask you about your other work, which is sort of related about Caribbean fascism. How widespread now is this? I mean, I know that this is probably, I suppose there's like tons of ideas which are anti-immigrant, which is very racist, which is about border walls and so on. But like, apart from sort of Bannon's utterances, like who else is kind of mentioning still this book? Or do you think it's not so much that somebody doesn't even have to say it directly anymore? And it's in the same way with, for example, the QAnon group, where Trump says something cryptic and they pick that up as like, oh, that is an assurance of our cause. So has Camp of the Saints taken on a character like that already?
I would say it's even more out of the box in a way. Like I would say it had this sort of cachet earlier, right? Probably in the early 2000s. But when 2015, and that was when that Julia Hahn article came out in Breitbart, which, by the way, Stephen Miller, when that cache of emails came out on Southern Poverty Law Center, he had encouraged her to write the article. It was like, someone should talk about the Pope and make this connection. Anyway, like it's all part of a, Just
for those people who don't know, the Pope had written, I think he had said something about immigrants, right? About being kind.
Yes, well, and this is the Catholic part that I think is so important, right? I think assume sort of more broadly a unified Catholic identity, and there are fractures that are so apparent. And this novel, I think, sort of brings it out the way people associate or think about it. And so, yes, the Pope Francis, who really represents for a more conservative, and you could have a lot of other adjectives to use there, set of Catholics, he's bad. They do not like him. And so he had basically argued for compassion in the European migrant crisis, treating migrants with compassion and humanity and dignity. And the argument in Breitbart was someone needs to call him out and needs to make the argument that that's the folly of the Pope, the fictional Pope in Camp of the Saints, and he died. He got trampled by, a horde of migrants. So let's point that out. I mean, when you look at it that way, it's bonkers. But what was your question?
Your point was this. I think you were trying to say that it's way more.
Oh, right. Yes. 2015. Yeah. 2015 was when it kind of was out of the bag. I think it's not even about the novel. And it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing. Like, have you read this? Have you read this? Again, earlier in the 2000s. Now, I think the most important thing to start wrapping our heads around, that I've tried to wrap my head around, is that there is an approach to public policy, like from the White House via Stephen Miller, but other people that are there as well, and via Steve Bannon before, to take a line, not just on immigration, but other policies that is rooted in this fundamental fictional conceit of this novel and of other ways of thinking. It's not just the novel, but the fundamental conceit, which again is fictional, which is to say that in order to survive this apocalypse, the West, the apocalypse of the non-West, the West has to decide to treat the other, that is the non-white or the non-Western, with less humanity, or to not believe in this fundamental equality of humanity and dignity. That is the conceit, right? And the West loses, Raspai argues, or in this fictional novel, because they won't do that. France isn't capable of doing the hard thing of agreeing to create a hierarchy of human dignity. And so it's so insidious that this novel as an idea gets thrown out there as the way to preserve the West. And so this is the conceit that I think is really actually in reality shaping public policy and the approach to even other policies, the fundamental inequality of humanity and the indignity of some human beings. And so that's out of the bag, that's real.